All right, it's going to be my review on the 1974 made-for-television film, All the Kind Strangers. There's only a couple of reviews out there on this film, and one of them is my favorite one is a short one, but a very good one by Robot Maria. Check her out. Her channel, that's one word, Robot Maria. I think she mostly does gaming things, but kind of a British girl and cool, and she does a really good job on the review. But I'll kind of get my own take on it. You have the main characters. Stacy Keach plays Jimmy Wheeler, Mr. Wheeler, as the kids call him. Stacy Keach is a pretty well-known name. You've probably seen him in movies. He's been in a lot of things. I saw him in, just off the top of my head, probably the best thing I've seen him in is a 1981 film called Road Games, a kind of suspense thriller with Jamie Lee Curtis. 1981, Road Games. Check it out. The lead actress is played by Samantha Eggar, so she's also a pretty well-known actress. She was in things like The Brood, 1976, I think was that year. She plays Carol Ann in this. And then you have 7 kids, teens on down. The oldest is played, and the main one is played by John Savage. He is Peter. He is an intense actor. He was in The Deer Hunter and some other films. Next you have Robbie Benson, who is the second oldest boy in this. I think he's 15. I think Peter, played by John Savage, is like maybe 17, possibly 18. I thought he was more like 17, but Robbie Benson plays John, the 15-year-old. He's really good in this. He had some other acting things. He did the voice of the Beast from Beauty and the Beast, 1991, and he reprised that voice in some other things. And he acted in some other movies, but he also sings the title song from this film, All the Kind Strangers. And he's very good in this. Then you have Arlene Farber, plays Martha. I think she's maybe 16. I think she's older than John's character, than Robbie Benson's character, John. She's the oldest girl. She's mute. And then you have Patty Parkinson, who plays Rita. She's the other girl. And she's the blonde 13-year-old. And then you have Tim Parkinson. I think they're brother and sister. He plays Gilbert, the 7-year-old, who Stacy Keach picks up at the very beginning, walking on the road. Patty Parkinson and Tim Parkinson never played in anything else. This is their only appearance in any movie. I always love things like that where you see actors that did a good job in their one opportunity and never got an opportunity before or after. The kid Tim Parkinson, who plays Gilbert, shows a lot of promise for a 7-year-old and does a very good job in this. Can't say the same for his sister. I assume it's his sister, Patty Parkinson. No offense. But Brent Campbell plays James. He is forgettable in this. He was in a couple other things. He was in some kind of Hank Williams Jr. documentary, and he was in this Christian film from 1975 called Happiness Is, that I've kind of been meaning to give a try, but it's more like a focuses on kids too much for my taste, but he was also in that. He plays James, who I think is about maybe around 10 years old. He's similar to Rita, Patty Parkinson's character. They just kind of stare a lot, and they're both kind of blonde, and they don't really add much to this film. And then neither does the final kid, John Connell, plays the youngest. Baby is the name of the boy. I think he's maybe 5 at the oldest. John Connell was in nothing else, and didn't have anything else. This is one appearance. So Stacy Keach's character, Mr. Wheeler, is a photographer. a freelance guy, drives around, has a cool car, and he is driving in some kind of rural place, and he picks up a boy, Gilbert, who is carrying a grocery bag. He offers him a ride. This is the days of hitchhiking in the 70s, and takes him, and offers to take him home, and it happens to live off the beaten path, really off the beaten path. He has to drive through some water, and it's just in this completely out of nowhere, this house, country house, and it's a little scary looking. It turns out these 7 kids all live alone. Their father was in the bootlegging business, and he drank himself to death. I forget what happened to the mother, but she's gone. I think maybe she died too. The woman in the house is one that they kind of kidnapped too, Samantha Eggar. And this becomes a thing where they're trying to find like a father to go along with her, and Stacy Keach kind of fits the profile. They stay. The house is protected by these dogs. These like hunting dogs. They're a little scary. He stays the night. They take his car overnight, and or Peter does, and puts it into a lake, the bottom of a lake, and it's for a TV movie. This is pretty good, but it ends up the 7 kids vote on whether they want to keep Stacy Keach and the woman, because they both try to escape at one point. He tries to escape on his own at one point. He's caught by the dogs. They try to escape together one night, caught by the kids, Peter mainly, and they vote on whether they're going to keep him. It ends up being a vote for no, which means they're going to kill him the next day. And it's a kind of a good ending, I guess, but you have a lot of good atmosphere in this movie. I like the country house, the barn and stuff, and there's a lot of spacious field area. There's a cornfield with little traps in it. There's a cool swimming hole that the kids go to. It looks kind of like Rio, or like a creek. It looks like it'd be pretty fun, even though maybe a little bit nasty in there. You have I kind of like the fact that you've got some nice food scenes. The one at the beginning with the mashed potatoes, I think there's like fried chicken, all these biscuits, and carrots was another thing that they have. And then there's another night they have this huge, like, looks like some kind of roast thing, like in half. But you get the feeling it's a deer, because right before that scene, Peter shoots a deer and kills it. And you kind of think maybe that's what they're eating there. But this is a good movie. Does not fit on the Mill Creek Entertainment DVD set Nightmare Worlds, which is mostly sci-fi stuff. This is just a suspense kind of thriller, kind of drama as well. So it's weird that they put this movie in the collection, because it's definitely an outlier. But one of the a couple of things that I like about the film is I said the atmosphere, the food. There's a couple of things that they could have predictably done that they did not do. So one was having the couple, Stacy Keach and Samantha Eggar. It would have been predictable to kind of have them as a subplot, develop a romantic interest. In the two, it's a nice pair between the two. It looks like they'd be a nice couple, but at no point is there a hint of them developing any kind of romantic interest. I thought that was pretty cool. I also like the fact that they didn't go with the predictable, like the mute person in this, which is the girl Martha. She never says anything in the film, so that's kind of refreshing. Usually they have the mute person scream something really loud that's really important, but that they never fell to that temptation. One of the big criticisms I'm seeing on like IMDb comments is the fact that you have this good suspense movie, and then it ends up being kind of turns into this like ABC after school special with, because after they vote to essentially kill the couple, they're walking out of the house, and Peter has the gun, is holding a gun like he's going to kill him, and Stacy Keach talks him out of it. And you get the feeling that he genuinely cares for these kids. He's not just trying to save himself. He really cares about helping these kids. He has a good bond with Gilbert, especially the 7-year-old that he picked up at the beginning. You can tell he genuinely likes him, and he wants to help the rest of the family. But people didn't like the fact that it kind of turned into this kind of almost sappy type of thing at the end. But I don't have a problem with it being a happy ending, because it doesn't conflict or clash with the tone of the film, because Peter, the oldest, who's kind of the dictator of the group, he gives them orders, but he wants to have an authority figure, and he wants to have that fatherly figure, and he's obedient to Stacy Keach kind of to a point. So there's kind of this struggle with Peter's character the whole time, with him wanting to have that father figure and authority, but he still wants to control the family. He's still kind of controlling Stacy Keach at times, but it comes to a head at that ending scene. And I think it's good that you have him, Stacy Keach, talk some sense into him, and that's kind of what it took, because they've been bringing in people one by one, and they're killing them off as they find out, like the father figures, if they don't like them. But it took the right person with the right temperament in Jimmy Wheeler, Stacy Keach's character, and to say the right things and to have the right stern but loving attitude towards them, to turn Peter into relenting, and just the way he says it, like Peter says, "I love these kids" at the end, and then Jimmy Wheeler says, "Do you? Then you'll put down the gun." And like it's really effective. I think it's really convincing the way Stacy Keach acts in this film, especially that ending scene, and they're walking off together to take a long walk into the nearest town to get some help. So so it's not really that much of a happy ending, because you think they'll be put into a home, and maybe there'll be some consequences for Peter's character for the murders. So you think, and is he 17 or 18? That's the other thing. Like, is he gonna go into a detention thing, or is he gonna actually face charges? So I think he's 17, but I would have been fine with them. It's a fine ending, because it's not completely happy. It's kind of, at least there's a turn to doing something right, but there's a lot of questions about what's going to happen after this. Now, I also would have been cool if they had shown them walking closer to the town, and then you have the cheesy 70s instrumental kind of happy music playing, and then as they get closer into town, Peter changes his mind, like, I don't want to go to juvenile, I don't want to go to juvie. Then he takes out a knife and stabs Jimmy Wheeler and kills him, and then goes back to the house. They continue the cycle. I would have been fine with that as it's kind of a twist ending. Then you have a part 2 where, let's say, it's maybe like 3 years later, not that much longer, but 3 years, So you have, Peter is now, Gilbert is now 10, and then the other, the other kids are a little older. They're more brainwashed. They're more of a threat because they're getting bigger, and maybe maybe you have a different character come in who's a match for them, and he pairs up. Well, they probably kill Samantha Eggar's character by then, but you get a new couple that is a match for a more developed family of the 7 who are ingrained in this weird like deliverance lifestyle, like creepy family going on. But so that would have been cool too, to have that as a twist ending. But I guess the only problem I have with this film is that you have these 7 kids, and I understand that you need the odd number because they do votes. You could have trimmed this down to 5 because there's a few just dead weight characters in here, like Patty Parkinson, Rita, the youngest girl who just has nothing to offer. She may as well be mute too, like the older sister, because she really doesn't say anything. She just kind of stares. It looks a little weird, and then the other boy, James, played by Brent Campbell, who's like the second, or I think he's like 10. He kind of does the same, kind of stares and has these weird eyes, but he doesn't really have any purpose, I don't think, for being there. And the baby, you don't need baby in this movie. He doesn't play any role at all. Like, so it's just, those were like 3 main deadweight characters. Martha was good because she is sympathetic towards Jimmy Wheeler. She even like gives him the eye throughout the film. She kind of likes him. You can tell she has kind of a crush on him, and then she helps him. She unties him at the end when he's tied up in the bed. So she plays a good role in this. And you have the little boy. I think did an excellent job, Gilbert. He's kind of a little voice of reason too for Peter. So he was good. I thought John Savage as Peter was great. He really plays the role well. But Robbie Benson as John is, I think, even creepier than Peter, because he's just got this like hillbilly accent and smile, wearing the overalls, and he's real lanky, and he's really like easily manipulated by Peter, so that's kind of dangerous. You get the feeling he could just like freak out at any moment, and he's a little too nice at times. He's just really hard. He's kind of unpredictable, whereas Peter's character is a straight line. I don't think he smiles in the entire film. He's really businesslike, but the John character is just weird, and he's he takes orders from Peter. You can tell he's like really brainwashed by him, and like so I thought John was an excellent character. So that's pretty much about it for All the Kind Strangers, last night's featured presentation, 1974, a TV movie. Good film, check it out. And all right, see you next time for another film review. This wasn't as good as Robot Maria's, but still, something to add to the to the short list of reviews for All the Kind Strangers, 1974. That's about it. Later, guys.